And it's the big business behind travel nursing. And these are literally road nurses that will take contract jobs and they'll travel all over the country for an indefinite or a certain amount of time for a decent amount of pay. They have to leave their family. They have to basically drop their life. Okay. And the demand, of course, surged to even higher levels during the pandemic. So this company called Crucial. All right. Now, Crucial Staffing was one of these companies that sent nurses nationwide. And they were working for a specific organization, and they were offering $10,000 a week to nurses to travel to the front lines in New York City, right? And they would have to work 14 to 21 days straight in overwhelmed hospitals with potential but no guarantee for renewing their contract. But at $38 an hour, she's like, well, it wasn't bad, but expenses were overwhelming. Again, this is a decently long article that was originally featured in these Times. Found this in Popular Resistance. It showed up in Leftist.today. But this job in New Orleans would pay $95 an hour from Crucial. Okay, but she got there, and you get what you pay for, essentially. Arriving there just 24 hours after, she steeled herself for long hours at a convention center, but she found out she would be demobilized, which is another industry term. After complaining about sexual harassment, she alleges that was rampant at the hotel where nurses were lodged. She said she's effectively been blacklisted, barring her for work with the company. So, this is not cool, okay? So, again, in more than a dozen states and federal lawsuits filed during the pandemic, travel nurses have alleged workplace violations, and retaliation by some of the industry's fastest growing private staffing agencies. It kind of makes sense in some ways because there's tons of money, and here's the thing that's going on. Using funding from FEMA, states are paying out hundreds of millions to bring in additional medical personnel during COVID-19 surges, which is a boon for companies like Crucial and SnapNurse, which is an Atlanta-based startup that gained more than 9,000% in 2020. Yeah, exactly. Someone's making bank, and we are seeing examples throughout the country of nurses leaving their communities for the higher compensation offered by travel nurse agencies, and it only serves to further local staffing strains, often in the most underserved communities, of course. But what's worse is some of the stuff that they're talking about. You're constantly shifting your life around the entire country, not able to stay still or create a foundation. Who worked at 17 hospitals since 2020. I mean, here's the thing is that
they can also attest to like how bad the hospitals are, like,
Well, there's that, but here's what happened to this woman, quote unquote Tiffany. Again, she was supposed to be onboarded in New Orleans. Okay, but what's going on here was that her rental car alone cost her $230 a day, but she never was reimbursed. And then she got there. It turns out they didn't need her, and they sent her home and never even took care of her expenses. And this is happening all over the country. Here you go. In August 2020, NBC Miami reported on travel nurses who likewise said they had been recruited to SnapNurse to work in Southern Florida, only to have their contracts canceled upon arrival and to return home without compensation. Okay, so now here's the thing, and again, I was looking in this a little bit further, and I read this whole thing through. They're talking about, a state in Alaska got $100 million in contracts to private agencies to bring nurses in. So there's huge money at stake for these companies to do this and to get people there no matter what.
Too,
right. Right. Get people there, fill the body. Look, I can't promise you, but I'm a staffing agency. I've got a body there to fill your spot, and now you pay me.
Yep.
Okay, we had very young nurses there. There's so much stuff in this article. Yeah. Atmosphere in the hotel. She was shocked by what came next. In emails to Crucial, and she alleges that the Crucial representative dismissed her concerns and told her to just keep her legs closed.
Fucking
What?
What the fuck?
What? These are traveling nurses. Okay, here. 5 minutes after I gave them all my information and I'm set, I'm in, I get an email. Because of things that happened in New Orleans, you're not allowed to go on assignments for Crucial staffing. Please do not travel to Texas. She had already gotten a job.
Ugh.
On assignment in Waco, registered nurse Ryan Speaker says he also experienced retaliation from Crucial. All right, and then he shared a video that went viral of healthcare workers confronting managers about their accommodations, which, according to workers, were littered with needles and infested with rats and bed bugs. Nice.
Yeah, that's what I was
Nice. Catherine Derencourt alleges she was barred from additional work with Crucial after pushing for improved contact tracing and testing on assignment in early 2020. Anybody who's pushing to actually make sure that worker safety is looked out for. Again, this is April 2020. This is at the height of the pandemic. This is right when everybody's in the middle of lockdown and they needed nurses more than anyone. And the only people that were going out were the essential workers. This is how they treated our essential workers. That they got part of that $6 trillion of the CARES Act money to support. Here, Kay Ivey announced she would use $12 million of the state's federal funding to hire more temporary healthcare workers as well. I mean, this happened all over the country. National Nurses United argues that staffing shortages can be chalked up largely to poor working conditions, caused in part by intentional understaffing, which this is the statistic that I wanted to showcase again. Morning Consult found that in addition to the 18% of healthcare workers who quit during pandemic, an additional 12% had been laid off. But there was something about how the percentage of traveling nurses, and maybe that it had doubled, that it had gone from like between 8 and 12% of nurses to between 20 to 24% of nurses, somewhere around there. And that's also somewhere in this article. I wanted to point that out. So because of the pay and because of all this, the number of traveling nurses has gone up, and they've been treated like crap and ripped off for their time and their effort and their caring and their work, and it's gross. So Crucial staffing, they should be investigated by the Justice Department for sure, because that's using federal funds. I mean, that's straight up fraud.
Yeah.
So that's exposing a big issue, which is what's going on with these private staffing agencies that are exploiting pandemic money, and there's still pandemic money going out there.
Well, you better get hip to indie left, indie left, indie left.news.